Hello, my name is Bryan Tolley. I am going to try and explain some of the features of this electric VL. It is an electric solid-bodied VL, but it has some electronics inside it to enhance the features of the instrument. Basically, there's just one string. The other sounds are recreated electronically. The single string means that the keyboard has to have some special features to compensate for the lack of tension. So first of all, I don't know whether it's visible, but there are special stops on every single key to stop overstretching the string. The stops are adjustable, but they have little rubber blocks on them to allow some movement for obtaining vibrato. The intonation is precise, the keyboard has a comfortable action, and it has a fully chromatic 2-octave keyboard. Of course, the instrument could be made with a longer keyboard, make it an alto size or whatever, but it works fine as it is. It has a violin D string in it, so it's tuned in D, but you could put a G string in there. You could put any steel string in there that you wish. It works fine. The instrument has a double coil magnetic pickup. This thing. It is in fact the humbucker style, the same sort of thing you'd find in most electric guitars. I did try wiring it in series, parallel and single coil with a switch, but to be quite honest, it didn't make much difference which way it was wired. The sound came out pretty much the same. There wasn't much of a difference between the different configurations. So it's wired in series, which gives the most powerful signal, and I've given up on that idea of switching between the different configurations. It works okay for guitars, perhaps because they've got a longer neck, because they have several pickups. It wasn't possible with this instrument, so it's just basically a humbucker pickup. Right, now the wheel is basically a VL wheel. Now you can probably see that it's not wooden, it's duraluminium, perforated, it's lightweight. Now there are perforations around the edge of the wheel. Now these are for a laser captor which determines the wheel speed. There's a microprocessor which senses the speed of the wheel. As soon as the wheel starts to turn, it switches on an analog switch which is used to start and stop various various preamplifiers, one which controls the sound of the drones, one which controls the sound of the pickup. So in other words, when you don't turn the wheel, the pickup is switched off. You don't hear it because these analog switches are noiseless. Now, when you accelerate the wheel, it switches on another analog switch which controls the sound for the Xi'an, the rhythm. Now, in this instrument, the Xi'an has several sounds. You can select the sounds with these mega switches, these multi-position switches. You can select a series of different sounds. The basic sound is white noise. I have a white noise generator installed in here. The white noise has been filtered with a high-pass filter, so it just has the high, sharp-sounding frequencies to give a nice crisp sound. So the white noise doesn't have a tone, so you can play in any key, you can modulate and still use the Xi'an, the rhythm, and the instrument can modulate. You can play in you can go up and down as you play, and it doesn't affect the Xi'an. Now the drones, yes, there are drones in here. There's a drone circuit which can play in any different key. The little buttons here push it up and down a tone, or semitone rather. You can go up and down an octave by semitone. You can do that when you're playing. If you want to push the button, it'll go up and down as you go. Which is okay. It works fine. There are two pan pots here. Now the pan pot will give you an option of being either a straight signal or a signal controlled by the rhythm, or any configuration in between. So in other words, if for example you're playing with the melody, you can either have a constant melody, which is typical on a VL, or you can turn the pot and push it over to being controlled by the rhythm. So in other words, every time you give a blow on the crank, you will hear the melody. And when you're not winding fast, you won't hear the melody. So in other words, you play staccato. This instrument can play staccato. If not, if you wind it down halfway in between, the melody sound will be feeble, and when you hit the knob on the crank, it will give a pulse of amplified sound. So you are pulsing the sound to accent the rhythm. The same thing with the drones. You can switch the drones right down to be controlled by the rhythm. So in other words, the drones will pulse, and that will be the effect of your rhythm. So you can have a pulsing drone behind a constant rhythm, or vice versa, or both can be pulsed, it doesn't matter. You can control the percentage with these two pots here. So this is basically the volume control for the melody, the volume control for the drones, the volume control for the effect for the Xi'an, tone controls here, treble and bass for the melody, the two pan pots, master control here for the volume for the whole instrument. This block of controls in the back here, this little black panel, there are 5 little pots here and another chrome pot at the back here. This lot is an analog synthesizer which can be worked independently. It makes all sorts of strange effects and sounds, but it can also be switched in to the sound with the VL. So in other words, if I move this mega switch here, I can first of all switch out the noise and switch in the synthesizer. First of all, I can just have the synthesizer by itself playing along with the VL, but if I switch over to the other end of the switch section, the sound of the melody goes back into the synthesizer and it will play through the synthesizer. So that, in other words, the melody signal is being deformed by the synthesizer. It will come out with reverberation, and every time I play a coup de poignet on the crank, it will accentuate all the overtones and strange noises that the synthesizer is generating. And I can vary that with these little knobs here and the voltage controlled oscillator, which is this last chrome pot here. On the other side, this other mega switch, first position is just the main melody can pick up. Move it across a notch, it switches on the drones. Third position is what's called a treble booster. That's the same sound you get in a rock band where the lead guitar is playing a solo. It brightens up the sound, it amplifies the treble sound, it really cuts through. That's when you want a lead riff. If you want the hurdy-gurdy to come through, you switch it up to the middle there and get the treble boost on. The fourth position is a fuzz. Now a fuzz is a distortion, and this one has what's called a fuzz face. It's a Jimi Hendrix type pedal, and it distorts the sound. So that can be in there. You can make the thing sound heavy metal if you want to. Those effects are in there. You can add any guitar effect you want, actually, because it's basically an electric guitar type instrument, the melody string. So you can put a wah pedal in there. You can put all sorts of other guitar effects into the output line. This button here, this knob here, controls the speed of for the Xi'an. It's like the tirant peg on a regular VL. It controls the sensibility of the crank for the fast triggering speed. I think that's about all. There are 3 little diodes here, which one tells me it's on, one tells me when I'm turning the crank, the third one tells me when the crank is triggering for the Xi'an. The other this little display panel tells me what pitch the drones are running at. There's another little switch hidden away underneath the keyboard here, which turns on my tail lights, which pulse with the rhythm. Now I can do that if I want to, but I don't do it too often because it tends to drain the batteries rather quickly, so I leave that off, but it's just there for an effect. I have nice bright braking lights blinking out the back of the instrument. It's fun. Now inside it's full of electronic circuits, of course. It's taken me quite a while to develop all this, but they all work, and I'm quite pleased with them. They've got low consumption components in, so the batteries do last a while. There are a couple of lithium battery packs in there. These are the 2 charge sockets, and this is the XLR output socket. It's a balanced output, and I can put the cable straight into an amplifier. There's no need for any effects en route, although of course they can be used. That's it. It's a small, compact, solid body electric VL. It works fine. And oh yes, one other thing, the wheel, of course, because there's only one string on it, the effect is rather strange because there's very little friction for braking. So it has a friction brake built in, so you can still play the coup de poignet and not whiz around too much. There's a friction brake on there which holds the wheel back, so you still get the same sensation as you would on a regular acoustic instrument. Now I'm going to stop here and wire the thing up to an amplifier, and then on the second video you'll hear what it sounds like. So thanks for watching. See you soon.